So our next speaker is Tony Kington. He is Managing Director for Europe and Executive Vice President of Sales for Omni ID, and he'll be speaking with Peter Salmon, who is Senior Product Design Engineer for Omni ID. Tony, you have control of the keyboard.
Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, thank you very much. For those of you who don't know us, I would just like to introduce Omni ID. Mark, if you could move along to the next slide for me, please. Thank you very much. Okay, so a little about Omni ID. We're a company that's historically known for its development and manufacture of a very broad range of UHF RFID products. Many of those are specifically targeted towards use in rugged or harsh environments, and we've been supplying into such applications for probably around about 5 or 6 years now. We're also a company with a global presence, as you can see from the slide. We carry out software and electrical engineering development in upstate New York at Rochester. In Farnham, UK, we have our RF mechanical engineering teams, who Peter forms part of. In Qingdao, China, we have a comprehensive product test and validation center, together with our own assembly and test manufacturing facility. We also have a sales office in downtown Shanghai, together with a sales office we've recently opened in Mumbai, in India. The energy industry, which has many hazardous and harsh applications, is one of our target markets. In fact, we were the first, and I believe still the only UHF, at least, RFID company with a very broad lineup of products that are certified to ATEX, IECX, and Class 1 Div 1. Next slide, please, Mark. So I'm going to hand over to Peter Salmon now. Peter, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Tony. So I'd like to take this chance to talk a little bit about defining a harsh environment. It can include a number of environmental, chemical, or human factors that influence what we consider to be harsh. For a person, a harsh environment is typically a set of external conditions or factors that can cause some type of physical harm over a period of time. The concept is much the same for auto ID products that are used to track assets. Some examples of this could be water, high humidity levels, or other potentially damaging conditions, including extreme temperatures, temperature cycling, ingress of particulates like sand or dust, as well as vibration and of course physical impact. Physical strength can vary from robust products like our Max HD that we offer to our Adept 400 that can withstand multiple hits from a sledgehammer. Some of the other typical extreme harsh environment applications that we're going to highlight here today are those from the construction and oil and gas industries, and focus on ways not only to track high-value assets, but use auto ID technologies to optimize analytics, reporting, for example through life support, maintenance, as well as the other options available from today's mobile hardware perspectives that complement these harsh tags. If we could just go on to the next slide.
If you click on the slide and then hit the down arrow, it should go forward. Okay.
So identifying requirements. So as a customer, you operate in a harsh environment, you understand your business case. Now how does that translate into a product or a solution that will fulfill those business needs? Typically, at least we see, and 90% of applications are related to tracking assets. Tracking these high-value assets, typically in an outdoor environment, often over several square miles, is going to be very important to define certain requirements from the onset. Good quality inputs and requirements allow us to rapidly prototype and create a couple of fast turns to meet the needs specifically. This iterative design process can take a couple of turns, but ensures the business needs are fully addressed. We spend a great deal of time capturing these requirements, so that it enables you to build a business case, and this takes into account also the durability in the processing, so sandblasting, chemical exposure, impact, and tamper resistance, and also looking into the environmentals, So UV, temperature, humidity, exposure to salt water can also be a very important factor. And then we're moving on to the read performances that are required. So whether you're using fixed readers, handhelds, what types of antennas you're using, and your read range requirements. Thank you, and I'd like to hand back to Tony now.
Thanks, Peter. I'll just have a go at changing the slide, Mark. No, it's not doing it for me, I'm afraid. Thanks very much. If we could just go back to the RFID and harsh environment slide, please. I'm sorry, Mark, could we move back one slide, please? Great, thank you. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is cover a couple of key points, which is why use RFID, what are the benefits of using RFID, selecting an RFID solution, and then some of the key points about implementing an RFID solution, and then hopefully bring that to life with a couple of real-world examples that we've worked on. So first of all, why use RFID? Once all the requirements have been captured and defined and decisions been made to use RFID, there's a couple of critical points there really. First of all, it's usually that line of sight, for whatever reason, won't work. Often in these environments, there's dirt, dust, accumulated debris, or there's excessive wear that simply means line of sight solutions such as barcode or human readable information or other symbology is simply eroded or covered up, and the technology required or the human simply can't access that information. Another common reason is the ease of data capture is very important. So first common reason why RFID is selected. Secondly, and the reason why the market is developing at significant pace today, is that UHF, particularly RFID technology, is becoming much more mainstream and pervasive. The development and the adoption that we've seen in the retail sector has really driven a myriad of new products that's been brought to market in almost every aspect, from tags to readers to software to supporting hardware. Finally, within harsh environments, and particularly the oil and gas sector, there's growing regulatory requirements and a need to reassure the public that the operations are taking place are safe, and RFID can form a critical part of underpinning that confidence in the operations that our customers are undertaking. This can form part of a maintenance regime, managing the construction of large facilities, pipelines, etc., cradle-to-grave tracking of components, and ensuring that all is carried out to the highest standards. To talk a little bit about what RFID that was touched on earlier, in our experience in harsh environments, there's been some use of LF, but that is a declining technology. HF has seen some applications, but limited. UHF, both active and passive, is growing considerably. So passive RFID is commonly used for maintenance, renewals, operations, and some smaller what's called yard management or large area management of assets, or as I said, maintenance, renewals, and operation, which is about certifying that the asset in question has received the maintenance in the correct fashion, and that information is captured automatically. For active is classically a large area technology where over many miles the assets can be identified using RTLS or near RTLS type solutions, which greatly facilitates the efficiency of build. So that's why RFID. So selecting an RFID solution. Okay. How do you select the solution or the solution provider, and what should you look for? Well, first of all, that the physical specs and the RF of the product meets the requirements. And if you have a broad selection of requirements that require many products, there's a portfolio or a selection of partners that meets your needs. From a software perspective, the functionality is adaptable to deliver accurate data in a meaningful form to the operators. And then finally, to state the obvious, quality is key. Quality both in design and manufacture. And many of these applications require custom solutions, so the ability to rapidly prototype, customize, and finally nail down the product that's absolutely fit for purpose is absolutely critical. The various certifications that was covered earlier is also very important, and it's important to consider those tests really as meeting or exceeding the requirements. If the product can meet those certification levels, then the user can have a high level of confidence that the product will be fit for purpose and will give a long and successful life in the use case. Then we move on to implementing an RFID solution. First, it's critical to understand your processes and related activities that the user is seeking to implement RFID to help them manage and drive efficiencies, control, and other benefits. Selecting providers and other vendors for hardware that understands those processes and has a track record of delivering success together with high quality products. Understand the need to build out a solution requires care and careful management from proof of concept through pilot to rollout, ensuring that the user gets what they need at each step of the way, and they can validate the ROI and tie that back and ensure that the overall program is adding value to their business. So now I'd like to highlight a couple of examples from the construction, oil and gas, and other energy industries. Just to say, we've worked over the last couple of years with many large oil and gas customers like BP, ENN, Saipem, and many others around the globe. So to come to some real-world examples, yard management is a very common application. In our experience, it's split pretty much favoring active, but there are some significant yard management applications that use long-range passive tags. Typically, it can be an oilfield services company that's undertaking the construction of a significant facility, whether that be a oil or gas processing facility, a refinery, maybe even a rig, or a large pipeline. And under such conditions, the ability to identify and locate over a wide area unique and individual assets is critical. The build program itself frequently calls for many individual assets to be lined up and available within a short time window to keep the build or refurbishment program on schedule, and it's not unusual for a large refurbishment or build program to have more than 100,000 individual assets. These assets can be many meters in size and can be spread over many miles in the receiving area that's frequently some miles distant from the build itself. So the logistics operation and the asset and inventory management operation is critical to driving success on the wider build program. The ability to withstand harsh weather conditions, so we have had products deployed up in northern Canada at temperatures as low as -50°C, and we've also had products that have been tested and deployed down to subsea pressures and temperatures, together with some higher temperatures that can be found in the Middle East and in the southern United States. So for active, our Power 400 tag has proved to be very successful. It's got an excellent battery, which is critical for withstanding those extremes of temperature and still giving reliable performance. It operates at UHF frequencies, 433 megahertz, which is excellent for dealing with dense metallic objects and still giving a reliable performance in terms of delivering the data back into RTLS systems and similar. It also has a passive component, so when the build is over and the asset itself is in life for 10 or maybe longer years, it can be used for MRO purposes and just used with a handheld or fixed reader perhaps to identify that asset for in-life management, maintenance, or even operations purposes. Passive deployments are similar, but the read range is significantly shorter. So active tags such as our Power 400 will typically give read performance of around about 100 meters, and the readers themselves can either be mobile, mounted on vehicles that are moving around the yard or the laydown area anyway, or they can be fixed in a network to give coverage, depending again upon how the user has requirements, what level of RTLS they require, and what time interval they want for asset visibility. So the benefits of adopting RFID in such a program is improved inventory visibility and control, improved efficiency, helping to ensure that the build remains on schedule, and then later in life, a product with the dual passive active nature of the Power 400 can be used for maintenance and overhaul purposes. And of course, those RTLS information will provide a live or near live inventory management, which will ensure that all the assets required for the build program are available. So the next and final example I'd just like to talk about is maintenance, repair, and operations. So this is very typically a passive application. Products can be attached to assets that are in the field and in use for 10 years and upwards. And we've got experience of supplying usually custom products or near custom products into these kind of applications, predominantly in North America, with a couple of examples in Japan and Europe. So you can see two examples there of products that's been developed on a custom to meet a particular customer's need, and then the demand and interest of those products has encouraged us to make it part of our wider portfolio. So typically what's required for success in maintenance, repair, and operations is extreme durability in some cases. The assets themselves can take a real beating. Peter spoke earlier about the DEP 400, you can see in the lower picture. That product can withstand upward 24 blows with a 8-pound sledgehammer and still read to its original specification. Furthermore, there's a requirement to withstand exposure to corrosive chemicals. Frequently, these items are cleaned using very aggressive solvents. Mechanical durability is key. There can be extremes of temperature in terms of ambient. Spoke a little bit about what northern Canada can experience in the winter, down to some of the high temperatures in some of the more temperate parts of the world. Asset sizes can vary significantly together with the type. So there's a wide envelope of operation that calls for a very broad range of products. Two products you see there, the DEP 360 and the DEP 400 are two examples of custom products that's been tailor-made for very specific applications for customers with a very broad program to improve how they carry out MRO. Benefits of this really are about improved asset visibility and control and a high level of confidence in the compliance regime from both certification and maintenance. Okay, at this point, Mark, I'd like to leave it open for any questions that might be for Peter or myself.
Okay, thank you. With passive tags, is read range limited or otherwise affected by the orientation or placement of the tag on the asset?
So a passive tag, well indeed, this goes for active or passive. The passive tag can be read pretty similar distance in two orientations with a virtually nil read in the third orientation, if you imagine there's sort of three axes that define a 3D space. So yes, placement of the tag on the asset is sometimes important, not always, but in some instances it's important to orientate the tag on the asset such that one of those two axes where you get a good strong read performance is lined up towards the reader.
Right. What is the typical lifespan of an active tag's battery?
Okay, so it all depends upon how frequently the tag operates. It depends, and so if you set it for a average beacon rate, then the battery life can last five years comfortably, and upwards of 5 years if you set it to a very slow beacon rate. If you increase the beacon rate or you increase the power, that battery life will drop fairly dramatically.
Okay. Seeing pipe assets within your presentation, have you had success with large diameter applications in harsh environments? Furthermore, at what point was the RFID tag applied to the pipe asset?
Okay, we've had a couple of different examples. We've done a number of pipeline applications where they've been existing pipes, and as the refurbishment program or maintenance program or routine checking has taken place, the tag has been added and the system's been uploaded with the relevant data. We've also done programs where the pipe is maybe laid on a temporary basis, or it's a temporary setup and there's several thousand pipe spools or hoses or pieces that are laid out ready to be used, and RFID solution has been used to manage that inventory of parts for a sort of temporary build program. And we've done a number of new builds where the tag's been part of that construction process. So we've had visibility of each of those cases.
Okay. Do you have tags for personnel tracking?
No. Our products are very much focused on asset tracking. We are taking a look at the personnel tracking market, but at this point, our products are focused very much on assets, not people. Okay.
Tony, Peter, that's all the questions we have. Thank you for your presentation and for your sponsorship of the event.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.